You're listening to the Wow podcast, a space for wellness, oneness, and wisdom. Wow! I'm Jennifer Robin. We explore holistic wellness of the body, mind, and soul, along with esoteric and mystical insights. New episodes every Tuesday, plus Start Fresh minis every Sunday. Disclaimer, this content is for informational purposes only and does not diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease or psychological mental health disorder. Consult with your healthcare provider for medical problems and before making changes to your physical activity, eating habits, supplements, or wellness strategies. The views and opinions expressed by our guests are their own and do not necessarily reflect those of the host, the show, or its advertisers. Let's jump in. Today on the show, we have Alx Uttermann, who's an accomplished teacher, healer, and spiritual adventurer. For more than 2 decades, she's been leading workshops and trainings on healing techniques and spiritual knowledge from ancient India. She also co-founded UCBK, the Universal Church of Baba's Kitchen, which is in California. It's a meditation, charitable, healing, and spiritual center open to anyone of any faith, any path, any religion, or none at all. Alx has a passion for empowering women first to heal themselves and then to strengthen their own connection to divine power and to become extraordinary healers. Her goal is to spread the light far and wide to help bring relief, peace of mind, inspiration, and miraculous healing to whomever is in need. So welcome, Alx.
Well,
Thanks for being here.
Thank you for having me. It's so nice.
I feel kind of in awe when I read your just all your experiences. I'm very humbled to be in your presence.
Oh my God, that's terrifying. No, don't believe a word of it.
For listeners who don't know you, tell us a little bit about how you got started doing all this work that you do.
You know, I was a reluctant healer and a reluctant mystic, honestly. My background was in the arts. I was a musician and a writer and a poet, and I was kind of educated on the East Coast. So I would say I had a sort of snobbery, an intellectual East Coast snobbery stance about spirituality in general, certainly about California.
Yeah.
Which seemed to me the land of nuts and flakes. I'm so sorry, all my fellow Californians. and just a general reluctance to be involved with any of that stuff. Yet I was deeply mystical as a child. I had a lot of experiences that I just didn't know where to put or how to make sense of them. So mostly I compartmentalized them and just kind of kept moving. Spirituality itself hit me in slow stages in my mid to late 20s. And it wasn't subtle. I never went looking for it. I wasn't interested.
Yeah.
I was the kind of person like people would say, oh, this holy lama or, spiritual person, whatever, they're coming to the local spiritual bookstore. Do you want to go hear their lecture? And I'm like, yeah, I'm pretty sure I have to wash my hair like all weekend. Just zero interest, really. Yet on my own, I was reading about saints and yogis and holy people, and I knew like there were real ones versus charlatans and not very, on the up and up kinds of characters. So I had some sense of it. Okay. And then healing hit me like a 2x4 in the late 1990s. A variety of things. I was initiated into Reiki, which I thought was nonsense until the initiation started. I became a Reiki
I can relate
healer.
to that. That was my first
Right?
impression of Reiki too. I'm like, this is no.
What is this?
This is not real.
And it was trendy, which just set my bells off, like. Anyway, I had a friend. I was working in the computer gaming industry as a writer and a journalist in the field and a developer. And I had a friend in the industry. She was a Reiki master, and she's the one who lured me into her workshop for free and gave me the initiation. And until that point, I thought it was woo-woo nonsense.
Yeah.
Until it started. And I felt the energy. I saw the energy. It was kind of dramatic, of course, as these things are. And so I began doing Reiki on everybody I knew, and astonishing things were happening. It I think, sort of unlocked my nascent healing abilities. Every human being has them. Mostly we just don't pay attention or don't consider it or don't develop it.
Yeah.
So that was a big step, right? And then it opened up a lot of questions more than it really answered. For instance, why would I feel the Reiki energy dramatically when I was doing a healing for someone, but they didn't feel anything? Why
Oh,
was it that
that's
sometimes
interesting.
I
Yeah.
wouldn't feel anything and they were knocked sideways by it? What was that?
Huh.
And I'd go to the Reiki people, the masters, and they'd say, oh, well, the energy does its thing. I'm like, okay, so you don't know how this works. They're
Yeah.
just doing this,
Yeah.
but you don't really know. Yeah. So I thought if I became a Reiki master, that would answer the questions. Nope, didn't.
Yeah.
And there were bizarre things, like I would put my hands on someone because they had pain from a broken ankle. The idea was to relieve the pain. At the end of the session, their pain was still there, but their asthma cleared up. And I'm thinking, okay, this makes no sense. That's kind
Yeah.
of where I was in the fall of 1999. I had set up for a whole year by then my own healing practice. I knew this was what I came to do. It was kind of flailing and kind of make it up by the seat of your pants energy, something or other.
Yep. Yep. Well,
Ah,
that's not uncommon. I mean, in this
as
field, right? Yeah.
as it
Yeah.
often is. And the more healing I did, the more I kind of remembered a lot. And definitely had a lot of psychic and mystical experiences along that way and so on. In the fall of 1999, I met a guy named Jonathan Rosen who came to me for healing, which was absurd. And he had already been in India for a couple of years back and forth studying with a miracle healing saint named Swami Kaleshwar. And Swami Kaleshwar was, at the time, this was 1999, he was 27
Hmm.
years old. He had the miracle healing abilities like Jesus
Okay.
and was demonstrating them dramatically, let me say. So in terms of doing physical healings, he was removing terminal cancers from people in like 5 minutes. He was manifesting ash from his fingertips. He was manifesting whole objects out of thin air and giving them
Mm.
to his students and to healing people that he, treated so that they could keep that divine energy blessing flowing and keep sharing that energy in their work, in their lives, and so on. So I knew that saints had these abilities. And I also knew that it didn't necessarily mean they were an enlightened character. It just meant they had abilities. But
Right.
something,
That's a good distinction, I think.
it is a
Yeah.
very important distinction.
Yes. Yeah.
And it's why historically the great saints have said, don't pay attention to the miracles
Hmm.
because they can be a trap. You can get stuck in them in the egoism and not really progress your soul to where it can be, right? It's not a mark of enlightenment. There are a lot of people running around with miracle abilities. They're not enlightened souls. And in fact, some of
Yeah.
them misuse it for more nefarious or self-serving purposes. Not okay.
Hmm.
So anyway, Jonathan was telling me about he had been studying with Kaleshwar for 2 years. And he had seen astonishing things. There was a Christian student who asked Swami Kaleshwar, would you please turn water to wine? And Swami was like, sure, go get a bucket of water. And within a minute, he had turned it to wine. It was very clearly wine. And the joke at that time was he hadn't really tasted Western wine, so he didn't know what it tasted like.
Right.
So it was like this kind of red, vinegary, sort of funky, whatever. Yes.
But it wasn't water. So there you
It was
go.
not water. And Kaleshwar's stance was, yes, it's true. I have miracle abilities. I worked very hard for them.
Mm.
Key point, I worked for them. In other words, they're learnable. And he would say, every human being has the capability to do exactly what I can do. And I will teach everything I know to anybody who's willing to do the hard work to learn this.
That's great. That's
This
amazing.
knocked me sideways. I thought, oh my God, somebody who understands the mechanisms of how this stuff works. And not only that, they're willing to share it. And it's a technology, meaning it's a tool set that can be learned.
Right. Oh, that was one of my questions for you was you talked about spiritual technology.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sure our listeners would like to know what that means.
It's quite a term,
But
isn't it?
it is. It also I'm intrigued by when you said he was willing to share this with anybody that's willing to do the work,
Mm.
in my experience with looking for teachers, looking for, spiritual guidance or energetic guidance, one of the telltale signs, at least for me, is it about the growth of the individual and sharing the knowledge, or is it about making this person rich?
Oh, for God's sake.
Right?
Right.
So, I mean, you can tell a
And that
lot
is a
based
thing.
on, I know, I run into it often. You think you found a great teacher and then you find out it's not what you think it is.
Oh
Kind of
my
goes
God.
back to what you said about having the intentions, like no, having the knowledge, but you also have to be using it for the right reasons.
Correct. And
So,
my experience in the West, especially,
yes, that's where I'm,
majority are not using it for the right reasons.
yeah, yeah, that's
It's
sad.
unfortunate, and it paints a bad picture for the rest of us. Because then people are
Right.
really like gun shy. Like,
Yes.
hey, I got burned by 3 teachers. Why
Yes.
should I trust you? I'm like, well, you shouldn't. Come taste the energy, and then you know for yourself if this is real or not. I'm not going to make a case for it because I understand,
I
you
like
know.
that. Taste the energy.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yes. So spiritual technology means, for example, let's go back to water to wine.
Yes.
If, let's say, so where Swami Kaleshwar began teaching, like his basic level of things, was a process, a meditation process that would take some months to do the whole thing around the 5 elements of nature. The 5 elements being the earth, the fire, the sky or the ether, the water, and the air. And that in the Vedic system from ancient India, the way that they understand the creation is that everything in the material world is composed of some configuration of these elements,
Hmm.
including the human system, but everything, whether it's a tree or a mountain or a bunny rabbit or an insect, everything is some kind of configuration of the elements. It's what the creator uses to make different forms and then infuse
Yeah.
them with life force. Okay. So this means, for example, if you see someone who, just in a basic sense, in the 5 elements, maybe they have they're so angry all the time. It means their fire element is way disproportionately balanced to the rest of the elements. That needs to come down. There needs to be a balance of all 5 elements in the human system for it to be healthy. And I mean healthy spiritually as well as physically. If, for
Interesting.
example, very
Yeah.
interesting.
Yeah. I've never heard
It,
that before. That's
that
interesting with the elements.
everything comes back to the elements.
Hmm.
Everything. And they are the doorways to the supernatural energy, to the creation energy through the material expression of an element. So, for example, like what makes the water water? Why is it wet? How come you can kind of hold it, but it will slip through your fingers versus if you grab a handful of dirt, the earth element, yeah, you can hold that. It's gross, it's dense, it's
Hmm.
material, correct?
Yeah.
What makes a fire the fire? You can't hold the fire. You can see it. You can touch it at your peril,
Hmm.
but you can't even hold it. Or the air element, we require that for life. The definition of death is somebody stopped breathing,
Right.
right? They have no more air element coming in and out, right? So everything comes down to the elements. Back to water to wine, to our chemical understanding, let's say, of water, right? If you were, you can look at water. You know it's water, whether it's frozen or it's in steam or it's in a liquid state. And we know chemically it's always H2O, correct?
Hmm.
It's always 2
Yeah.
hydrogen atoms and 1 oxygen, regardless of what state it's in. So
Right.
I've never seen an atom, have you?
Nope.
Okay, we take it on faith that these 2
Right.
kinds of atoms and this other 1 kind make this molecule of what we call water. So there's an unseen chemical level happening there that can be identifiable. It's like the footprint of what water is, yeah?
Yep.
Good. To a holy character, to a mystical character, they see the vibratory quality of the liquid. They see the vibration level of what makes water
Yeah.
water, like steps below the molecular structure or the atomic structure. And they're
Mm.
operating from that level. To them, it's vibration. And
Yes.
when you know that vibration, then it's not that hard to turn one liquid substance into, let's say, a different kind of liquid substance. That's a technology. There's knowledge about that. The ancient saints wrote manuscripts 5,000, 7,000 years ago detailing all of this. And they gave the energy formulas for how to access, let's say, that water element in such a way. How to purify that element in our own system, and then how to be able to turn around and, you could say, bend nature.
Right.
Especially in the course of healing somebody in their elements system. If somebody has an enormous amount of fear, for example, huge fear, their heart is kind of closed. They're scared all the time. It means there's too much earth element in their system. If they have certain types of body and muscle pains or mental health issues, like really unstable emotions, to the point where they're almost kind of like bipolar or something like that, a rather severe mental health, big depression, etc. It can be the earth element. It can also be the water element. And when that comes back into balance through applying the energy of these different formulas, which are mantras that correspond to each of the elements.
Did you say mudras, like the hand?
Mantras. No,
mantra.
not
Oh, mantra.
not
Mantra. Okay.
Mantra.
I just want to make sure because of the audio that our audience hears it. So mantras. Okay.
Mantras. Yeah.
Okay.
When you apply a certain mantra to that element, you can help push out the negativity that someone is holding in their system in that element, and use that element in someone's system with a divine quality of that element, which will help bring their elements into balance. So that was the basic thing that Swami Kaleshwar taught. And it's really cool in the sense that when you see a saint, let's say you see a holy figure manifest something out of thin air, they're commanding all 5 elements there. They're literally recreating a creation process to bring something into form that wasn't there a minute before.
Wow.
And we saw that around him a lot. Yeah.
I can't even imagine. That must have been amazing.
It is pretty wild. Jonathan Rosen, who had been around Swami Kaleshwar for a couple of years, Jonathan was a management consultant for Fortune 100 and 500 companies. And he brought this kind of technology into those places to help make everything smooth out in the relationship, let's say, amongst management level people who are having conflicts, or for culture change. Let's say they merged with another company and they were having, the obvious difficulties.
Yes.
Or bringing out the really deep, unspoken tensions in the corporate situation rapidly and getting to solutions rapidly where other more conventional management consulting firms hadn't been able to effect any results. Yeah, because he was
so that gave him a leg up then. And yes.
And they didn't know that he was bringing all the meditation energy and the spiritual technology into these environments to shift it very quickly.
Well, that's an interesting way to use it. Yeah.
No kidding.
Unconventional a little bit.
That is the limit.
Yeah.
So Swami Kaleshwar knew that Jonathan had that kind of position in the world, I mean, he was working with like all the management circles at Boeing and at Hewlett Packard, like really, really tough companies.
Yeah.
And they couldn't understand how these miraculous shifts were occurring so quickly and
I
sustainably.
bet.
So one night, Jonathan and Swami Kaleshwar were sitting by a holy river in India, in South India, and Swami had a little fire going. And at a certain point, he reached into the fire and grabbed a handful of ash, like burning hot coals. And Jonathan was like, oh my God, okay. And then Kaleshwar squeezed it together and threw it to Jonathan. And it came in the shape of this black oval stone, for those who aren't seeing video. And it was soft. Jonathan said it was so hot, he couldn't even hold it. He was tossing it between his hands like, oh my gosh. And it was soft. It wasn't fully formed yet. It was still emerging, right, from that fire element. And Kaleshwar said to Jonathan, squeeze it, push it together. And as it cooled down, it solidified. You could still feel Jonathan's thumbprints on it.
Oh, wow.
This day. And
that's amazing.
This object, Jonathan would take it into the corporate environment and use it among many powerful things that had come out of nowhere. And even he would like put it on people and give them a healing transmission with it. And miraculous healings would occur. Whole physical conditions that were like life-threatening would clear up, and just amazing things, because it came into being in a supernatural way through a saint who understands the 5 elements and can bend the elements and infuse
Wow.
the divinity in a solid object.
Very, very cool. Very
And this is the
cool.
kind of stuff that I started seeing when I met Swami Kaleshwar shortly after I met Jonathan.
So no wonder
And
you jumped into this because you saw some amazing things.
I saw amazing things, and I saw the effect in my own system.
Yeah.
When I first met Kaleshwar, he did a miracle for me, a healing. And the effect of it, looking back at it, at the time, all I was aware of was that I felt for a full day following this like 5-minute interaction with him,
Mm-hmm.
utterly innocently happy.
Mm.
And I had not experienced that since I was like a toddler. I can remember being a tiny little toddler out in our backyard in rural Missouri in the grass, grooving on the grass and the dandelions and the
Mm-hmm.
breezes and the sun, and kind of feeling that all of that was me in a way, and just in it, happy.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah. I had a very traumatized and traumatizing childhood and adolescence and early 20s, to the point where it's a wonderment that I was functional, really. And in
That's
that,
pretty common in healers. I'm
it
sure you
always is.
know.
Has to
Yes.
be. Must be. It must
Yes.
be. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Wow. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No,
I
that's
just
okay. But that
I
is
I
the
hear that a
landscape.
lot. Yeah.
That's the landscape we're talking about. In
Mm.
one interaction, Swami Kaleshwar did a miracle healing for me. And all of that was like removed, gone, gone,
Oh wow.
gone, like a complete reset. Looking back at it, that was the turning point. That, it was such an internal
Yes.
reaction, let's say, to this external. He manifested ash into my hand, which I really did not expect in the course of doing a healing. And wow. So from inside, I felt a remarkable shift that
Mm-hmm.
was honestly incomprehensible at the time. And he, at that time, made me promise that I would come to India. I met him in Seattle.
Oh, okay.
He had come to the US for a brief stint.
Yep.
And yeah, and he, at that point, he said, "Are you coming to India?" And I said, "Yes," thinking, who is saying this? Because that's the last place on the planet I ever wanted to visit.
So you didn't even have to think about it. Your body
Nope,
just
it
said
came right out.
yes. Yeah.
I would say my soul, my soul
Yeah.
said,
Yeah.
absolutely. While my mind was like, what?
Mm-hmm.
No,
Like what just
no,
happened? What did I just agree to?
no, really? Oh my God, I know I'm committed, right? And he said, "Are you sure?" And I said, "Yes." He said, "You promise?" I said, "Yes." He said, "Good."
Okay.
Okay. And that was it, man. It was like a business deal or something. I was like, "What? Okay, wow. I apparently am going to India." And
And
within
how long after you said that, made
um,
that commitment, did you actually go?
probably within 6 weeks.
Oh, wow, that was
Mhm.
fast.
Yes, ma'am.
So did you like leave? You were like in a techish job, right?
By
At
that
the
time, I
time?
had thrown over all of my Silicon Valley
Okay.
work, and I was full-time a healer. But as I say, a flailing seat of your pants, make it up
Oh,
as you
that's
go
okay.
kind of
Yes.
healer.
Yes. So you left
And
that behind to go study?
I actually went for a Christmas program in 1999, very
Okay.
interesting, in South India. And I was there from mid-December until January 2000, to the end of January. So I was there for about 6 weeks on my first
Mhm.
run, and through the millennium change,
Okay.
which was extraordinary. And I can say, like in the West, so I had seen Swami Kaleshwar do extraordinary miracles. He had cured a lot of people of very, very life-threatening diseases. He had manifested a lot of objects, and I had seen him a lot we went Seattle, in different communities there, and then in the San Francisco Bay Area, and then in Los Angeles. So I kind of did a Northwest tour there, or a West
Mhm.
Coast tour,
Right.
with him over, I want to say it was about a week, maybe 10 days. So I had the luxury of observing him in many different situations with many different types of people and seeing a lot of miracle things. Wow. Not like I needed to be sold on it because I already had this deep experience myself, but it was quite interesting to witness all of that. And then I get to India and he just like tore the gloves off, man. The miracles he did in India were on such a scale that it was obvious it made what he demonstrated in the West like child's play.
Okay.
Unbelievable. Really, truly unbelievable. So, yeah, so I was there for 6 weeks. And then I came back to the US and kind of digested that experience it took me many months to
Yeah.
kind of come back to a sort of normal consciousness in the world sort of thing. And then again, I went for about a month in the summer of 2000. And by November of 2000, both Jonathan and I, we had by then become an item. We were like, yeah, we're going to go do this immersively. It wasn't enough to go for these months at a time business.
Yeah.
So we picked up and we moved. Timeline unknown.
Yep.
Figured at least 6 months, maybe a year kind of thing. And it actually turned into 5 years.
Wow.
Whoops. How did that happen? I couldn't say.
Now, how did you stay afloat while you were over there for 5 years? What did you do for work?
Well, that's pretty interesting. Jonathan has sold a house.
Mm-hmm.
And so we lived on that for quite a while. And then right as we started running out of money, his father died and left him a little bit of money. And then it became so we moved there in November of 2000. And by the time we got to 2003, we had the feeling to go to Singapore. Every 6 months on a tourist visa to India at that time, you had to leave the country for like 24 to 48 hours. And then you could come back in for another 6 months. And so typically, like, we would go to Sri Lanka, which was pretty close, although it was also in the throes of a civil war at the time.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You haven't lived until you've seen the Buddhists and the Hindus going at it. Some of the most quote unquote peaceful people in the world, right? And like the Sinhalese Buddhists patrolling the airport with submachine guns. I'm like, okay, this is kind of wild.
Something's wrong with that picture.
It's a little odd, I gotta say, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So that was a little uncomfortable, Sri Lanka, in those days. And then once we went to Paris and we did some workshops, we taught and healed in Paris, which was lovely. And then we had gone to Singapore, which was fairly close also to South India, and liked it so much. I had a friend who had taught in Singapore, a New Zealander, who's a spiritual guy. And I said, hey, there's some center or something you taught there? You know, somebody organized for you. He said, oh yeah, here's the lady's name, blah, blah, blah. So Jonathan and I began going every 6 months to teach and heal in Singapore.
Okay.
And in the end, that kind of like, we'd stay there for maybe a month at a time, and that would sustain us enough to make it for another 6 months.
Oh, that's great.
So it just kind of got pieced together.
Isn't that amazing how things work out the way they're supposed to?
Yeah, especially when you're all in.
Yeah.
You know, when you surrender to the work that you're doing with full faith and commitment, the divine has to support you. It has to. It must. 1000% it has to.
That's awesome.
That's like a cosmic law, you know?
Yeah.
But that means all surrender.
Right.
That's
right.
not so
And
easy.
all in and actually do the work.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. Do you ever dream of being a better mom, friend, or person? You're not alone. Life happens, and even your best intentions can fall off track. That's why I created Balanced Life Warrior, a no-fluff, practical course that helps you actually make progress toward the goals you have for your life. There's nothing overwhelming here, just tools that actually fit into your busy day. You belong here. Head to whiterobinwellness.com to get started today. That's whiterobinwellness.com. Tell me about the rest of the spiritual lineage going backwards from this amazing teacher. Because I know I have some listeners that will be wowed by this. So,
well, it's kind of stunning, actually. So, what took me to India on that first trip was a Christmas program. And during that Christmas program in 1999, Swami Kaleshwar did a massive scale miracle in conjunction with the Christ energy. And he would say many times, you guys, the same mantras that you are learning, all of this technology, Jesus learned all of this in India, and it's how he was able to do the miracles. He brought it to the West. So Jesus actually is the cornerstone of this spiritual tradition as the
Interesting.
greatest exponent of the spiritual mechanisms of the miracle energy flowing from India that this planet has ever seen, to be honest. So
Interesting.
that was interesting. I did not expect
Yeah.
that. It took me a
Um,
while to grasp the enormity
yeah.
and what it really means. Others in this tradition. So Swami Kaleshwar himself was 14 when his guru came to him, who is Shirdi Sai Baba, the original Sai Baba, who had left his body in 1918, but manifested a body to come and meet young Kaleshwar and kind of start to wake him up. So if you know anything about Shirdi Sai Baba, he was an extraordinary miracle healing saint in the most of the 1800s and into the early 1900s. He was in his 80s when he died. He lived in obscurity. He was a beggar, and he did unbelievable in-your-face miracles. Very unpredictable character, very wild,
Yeah.
very committed to helping the spiritual kind of wake up happen for this planet. And today in India, this beggar, I mean, he lived in a tiny town that was like 2 streets and 50 huts, and he just
Yeah.
hustled everybody for food and a couple of rupees every day. In India today, he is the most revered saint. You will see Baba temples everywhere. You will see every like 10 years or so, they make biopics of him, either a movie or a TV series. His picture, his name is on everything from insights packages to, you know, his picture will be like in rickshaws that you take or taxis. If you go into a business, as not, they'll have either a statue or a picture of Shirdi Baba there to bless the place. He's like a household name in India today, yet he was completely obscure for the most part during his life because he's more on duty now than he was during his lifetime. Shirdi Baba is an amazing force in our creation. So he's the direct link in this lineage, but there are other great saints, including Ramana Maharshi, Sri Ramakrishna, the great Kali worshiper of the 1800s. He's a very pivotal figure in this lineage.
That was the name that stuck out to me because one of my trainers as well came from that lineage. So I knew that name and I was like, ooh, I got to pay attention to this.
He's ahead, as you know.
Yeah.
And the thing is, Ramakrishna was one of the first saints who was absolutely transparent about his relationship with the Mother Divine, specifically with Kali. Turns out she is the real force behind pretty much this whole tradition. Swami Kaleshwar was on extraordinary terms with Kali and made it his business to introduce his students to her in form. Like we met her directly and interacted with her. So there's a through line through what Ramakrishna was representing to the world, which most of the saints wouldn't talk about. They all had that relationship with her, including Jesus, which is pretty. They didn't talk about it, or
they talked about it, and
it got shuffled under the
it got
carpet.
eliminated. Yes.
Yes. Either way, but Swami Kaleshwar, one of his main things is to bring back the mother in a proper way in our world by creating cadres of miracle healing saints who can handle her energy. If we're talking miracle energy, that's coming from her. There's no other way to gain that. It's coming from her. She is the Shakti. She is the force. The force be with you, right? The miracle capacity,
right.
It's coming from her.
Right.
So they all had to negotiate with her. Other characters in this lineage include Mahavatar Babaji, which will probably upset the Uttermann people, but it's
I know
truth.
that name as well.
Babaji is very central and very active in this tradition of saints, as is the Buddha. So we cover a lot of the great, and these are just kind of the celebrity saints that we know. There are many others who are part of this lineage of great siddhas who go all the way back to to Shiva, to the beginning of the beginning.
It's a powerful lineage.
It is a very powerful lineage of saints. And they are all kind of like working together for the betterment of humanity. And especially at this time to help wake up as many souls as possible to the truth of Mother and to the capability that every soul has to wake up in the highest way, not just in a kind of easy, low level, blissful sort
Feel
of way.
good, just a little, yeah.
No way.
What would you say to people who, I know anytime we bring up Divine Mother,
Mm.
the religions are so masculine and like how if anyone's listening that has a very religious background and hasn't
Mm,
already switched off because of what we're talking about,
mm, mm.
what would you say to them about, you know, opening the mind a little bit and considering this, what this means, the Divine Mother? What would
Well,
you
I
say
was,
to someone?
well, if we're talking about Christianity, especially, it is interesting to me that both Orthodoxy and Catholicism, which are the two old brands of Christianity on our planet, both include the mother. They have a huge
Mm,
pantheon. They have female saints. They have Mother Mary, who is
yeah.
equal to Kali in our world. And she also was on very good terms with Divine Mother as Mahakali, by the way.
Mm,
Anyway, I would say she's there, but hidden in plain sight and not considered as the Divine Mother in a more, let's say, universal sense, or by a different name or a different face.
oh, yeah, I like that. Different name, different face. Mhm.
Totally, but same
Yeah,
energy.
yeah.
You know, I adore Mother Mary. She is central to everything because if there's no Mary, there's no Jesus, guys. Everything goes back to the
Yep,
mother.
yep.
None of us would be here without a physical mother, and none of us would be in the creation without a divine mother who made our souls, to be
Mm,
honest. So everything comes back to the divine feminine. To those aspects of Christianity that don't really focus on, let's say, Mother Mary, and they're not all that down with the female anything, yet they all talk about the Holy Spirit, and they know it when they feel it. I've had many conversations with many different Christians of all kinds of stripes who are very aware of the Holy Spirit. And I will offer to our listeners that if you go back to the Hebrew, Father, Son, Holy Spirit, correct? That's how it's usually
right.
in the
Mhm.
translation.
Yeah.
Yeah. The Hebrew word for Holy Spirit is Shekinah, and Shekinah is feminine.
Mm, interesting.
She's hidden in plain sight. It's
Yeah,
Father, Mother, Son.
yeah.
Or I would actually offer Father, Mother, Guru, which makes perfect sense. That's the setup in our world of the divine characters who are here to help everybody, regardless of tradition, regardless of what names we refer to them by.
Right.
And so, Holy Spirit, that feeling of the force in you, that feeling of the energy, the power of God, that's her. She's female.
Very, very cool.
Whether you see her as such or you don't, but she is.
Yeah. I feel like I could talk to you for like 20 hours, but I know that we're coming to the end. So I want you to talk a little bit about your center and your trainings and
Mm.
what people can learn there, what you offer, how people can dip their toe in this. But also, I know you offer like a 1 year training that's more advanced. So talk a little bit about what the options are.
We do lots of events, both in person in Los Angeles and globally available via live stream. So the easiest entree is we do fire homas, fire ceremonies every full moon and new moon. That's every 2 weeks. Since 2005, coming back to America after all the time in India. And you can find them on our website, which is UCBK, stands for Universal Church of Baba's Kitchen.org, under events and live events. So fire homas, we chant very high-powered mantras, very ancient mantras. The full moon is always focused on the mother. The new moon has
Okay.
a different format, and you can feel it right through the screen if you're not local in California. We have people tune in from all over the world. So those are every 2 weeks that you could really feel the energy, and then you can
Okay.
see, oh, is that for me or is it not? A lot of miracles happen through the fire homas. If people have a healing need or they need to unburden some stuff, it's immediate through the using the fire element, right? So that's one option. Another is we do a weekly satsang in the very, very deep teachings from Swami Kaleshwar. He was ripping the lid on the mechanisms, and that's usually what we talk about the satsangs.
Tell me a little bit more about what that is because I've heard that word, but I don't think I really know what it means. So I'm guessing there are listeners that also have no idea what that means.
Right. satsang from the Sanskrit, literally a sangha is a gathering. You'll see that a lot in the Buddhist circles. They'll say, oh, in our sangha, meaning like in our community.
Okay.
Sang is like that. Sat means truth. And the
Okay.
concept of satsang is that by everybody gathering together to discuss divinity, we all get to a deeper level of understanding it because the consciousness shows itself, right? What Jesus said, whenever there are two or more gathered in my name, I'm there. And it has that flavor of independently, we all have a little piece of knowledge, but when we come together and really compare notes, and we read usually in our satsang from like a passage from Kaleshwar's teachings, which were encyclopedic on how this creation operates. And then we'll discuss. And the discussions are
That
very rich.
sounds awesome.
It is awesome. And it's awesome because we have students of every level. We have beginning people, middle people, and extraordinarily advanced people. People who spent time in India, not only me. So it's awesome. So we do those every Thursday night by Zoom. And then I have a Facebook support group where we post the recordings so people can get them after the fact and donate, to like balance the energy of receiving the recording. So you don't have to be in the same time zone. People all over the world tune into the satsangs as they're able. So those are great. Those are our like recurring live weekly and bi-weekly things. Then we also have a whole library of pre-recorded teachings, videos that are on our website at ucbk.org. And people can pick up, you can start learning the 5 elements process. Highly advisable. Anybody can do it. From the video, it's me teaching it. It's there's handouts involved, so you can learn all the mantras and learn the whole process and receive the energy of it, and then start to do the meditations. There are audio recordings of me reciting them, of Swami Kaleshwar reciting the mantras, so you can really get the sense of how the elements work. That's the kind of entry level.
Okay.
And in that also is the concept of radical self-care, which is this amazing concept that Swami Kaleshwar drilled into us called decharging. This very interesting term, decharging. What charge is that? His concept was this: if we're operating as healers and as spiritual people in the world, we absorb an enormous amount of negativity
Yes.
from the people that we are helping. When we facilitate an energy shift, they feel better. Yeah, they offloaded some negativity, some stress, some unfortunate karmas. Where did that go?
Right.
It doesn't just disappear,
Right.
despite whatever the healing traditions tell us. It only changes state.
Yes.
Majority, it comes to the person who facilitated that healing shift. If we know we're an agent of the divine doing that, oh, I didn't do the healing, I'm a vehicle for divinity, then 98% of that stress and negativity and whatever goes straight back to the cosmic. And like 2 or 3% stays in our 5 elements structure as a charge in like the soul battery. A battery can hold positive and negative charges, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Positive charges are like a great meditation, a big spiritual experience, a gorgeous piece of music or art that moves your heart to tears. A deep, beautiful thing. Maybe a scene in nature that's so lovely that you're just, blown away by a sunset or something. These are positive charges. We want to hold those in the soul battery.
Right.
Negative charges are you got scolded, you got in a fight with somebody shot you a nasty look when you cut them off in traffic, or somebody's really thinking on you in a bad way, like maybe you had a breakup and now that person is thinking on you like, how could they break up with me? Blah, that awful person, blah, 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 blah.
Stewing on
Indirectly,
those emotions. Yes.
we're absorbing all that
Uh-huh.
as a negative charge to the soul battery. Those are kind of obvious negative charges. Subtle negative charges are you affected a healing for someone, and healing doesn't have to be formal. Your good friend had a bad day and they called you up and they gave out, they dumped their traumas.
Yes.
They have to dish and they're upset, and you're a good friend with an open heart listening. After an hour, they feel great. They feel relieved.
And you feel crappy. Yes.
Just cranky or drained or exhausted. So that's the energy transference that happened there because that shift occurred for the person receiving a healing, which doesn't seem like a healing. It seems like a normal thing to do. healers in particular of every profession, whether it's Western medical or an acupuncturist or a naturopath or a dental hygienist or an energy healer of any kind or a psychotherapist, woof, because they're listening to people all day and they're still playing those recordings in
Right.
their head because they received a huge negative charge in the course of doing the work. And it stays in the system and jumbles around and causes us to have health problems, mental health issues, sleeping issues, eating disorders, all kinds of stuff happen to people in the healing professions that should not happen. It's because of a
Yeah.
lack of knowing how to decharge, to take those negative charges out on a daily basis and give it back to nature. So
Right.
Swami Kaleshwar was saying to us, training us as top healers, you guys must 1,000% must know how to decharge effectively. And it has to be a daily practice, kind of like brushing your teeth. It's very similar, right?
Yeah. I've heard it referred to as spiritual hygiene,
Correct.
a similar thing to what you're describing of
Correct.
as a daily practice.
It must be. And in my experience, most of the tools that are out there to do that are not effective.
Mm.
They're too vague. They're too on the level of ethereal, kind of, oh, I visualize white light cleansing.
Yeah.
Da-da-da-da-da-da.
Yeah. Yes.
No. We're in a dense time. I think everybody's aware of that.
Mm-hmm.
We need the physicalized examples of the 5 elements through which to decharge back to the big source of those elements, the big nature. And so the decharging tools that we have are so stupid simple. I mean, it's like falling off a log
Simple's
backward.
good. Yep.
So simple, so easy, and so
Mhm.
immediate. You feel the relief, regardless of what kind of tool you are using to decharge. And we have that training on our website as well. So it's beginning to have a relationship, a strong supernatural relationship with the elements, and see the results of interacting with the elements in this purposed technological kind of way. So you asked about the 1-year mastery program. I do a healing mastery program every year. Essentially, I teach all of the major systems and a lot of healing techniques and knowledge that Swami Kaleshwar trained us in India.
Yeah.
The goal is to prepare capable top-level healers who can really handle the suffering and the heartbreak of our planet. That's not easy. No 2 people are alike. No 2 people's configuration of heartbreak is
Mhm.
identical. And the expressions of it are really different. You know, the number one disease that people are experiencing in our world is heartbreak.
Yeah.
Everything else comes out of that, the physical ailments, the mental health issues, all of it. And we have plenty of hospitals for broken bodies. We have plenty of hospitals for broken minds. We don't have enough hospitals for the broken hearts.
Oh.
And that was Swami Kaleshwar's
Mhm.
mission, was to create healers who could handle the fundamental level of human pain and flip it and change it and transform it. Turns out that's rigorous training. It was kind of like medical school for spiritual people. I mean, I couldn't write fast enough when he was teaching us. And so I put my students through a lot of the same meditations to gain certain types of energy, to be able to use it on people, to learn certain techniques that they can apply immediately. It's a big journey. And in that process, they themselves are getting
Right.
healed,
Absolutely. Well, that's how it always
cleaned,
is. You heal yourself first.
shining.
Yes.
Oh,
Yes.
it happens in tandem. And the
Yeah.
more we're working toward healing other people, the more our own stuff starts to dissolve and fall away. And it's such a journey to see where a group of students start and where they end up after a year. It's night to day. Unbelievable changes. I do it on Zoom.
Mhm.
So anybody from anywhere in the world, we've had people literally all over the world, because it's via Zoom, and then we give the recordings, you know, after our meetings and our teachings. People can access, they kind of go at their own pace, but the group moves together. Again,
Right.
we have a Facebook group set up for support. And they learn a lot of spiritual technology, not only mantras, but also very high-powered yantras, 2-dimensional drawings that are actually multi-dimensional expressions of the energy,
Okay.
and how to wield them. So they're different, like mantras for Divine Mother. She's got some aspects that help with certain types of conditions. Others, she's not the right energy type to call on. Maybe it's one of the 5 elements. Maybe it's the Kala chakra, the manipulation and the understanding of time and the role that it plays in heartbreak and pain. Maybe there was a painful time in somebody's life, and that set up a whole chain reaction that brought them now in this time cycle to experiencing all kinds of things. Well, if you can peel back the layers of time, you can send somebody's soul back to before the pain ever happened. And then it's like it never happened.
Oh, wow.
There are mantras that allow you to do that.
That is some pretty cool stuff. For your students that do this intensive program, how much time are they investing per day or per week? Or do you have any sense of how much time they're putting aside?
I try to make it not overwhelming, but it is hard work.
Yeah.
So usually homework is like maybe an hour every day. In the beginning, to learn the 5 elements, which is a prerequisite for the course, it's better they get the element system at least underway.
Mhm.
The very beginning of the 5 elements, that first earth element mantra will take like 45 minutes to plow through for about maybe 2 weeks. And then it shortens as you learn it and develop that energy channel. It shortens to like 20 minutes. So in the beginning, it seems overwhelming and impossible. And then as people really get their teeth into it and start doing these very high level practices and experiencing the symptoms that accompany these elements mantras, they get thrilled. And then now they taste the energy for themselves.
Nice.
Then they know something internally. People can tell you all kinds of stuff. Unless you experience it, it's worthless.
Yeah.
So this is an experiential path.
Okay.
And yeah, so it's like an hour a day. And, the teachings are sometimes multi-hours, but they can watch those videos over, a week or so. And usually we meet live like every 2 weeks to discuss and questions, but also questions come up in the Facebook group. And,
Yeah.
so there's an ongoing relationship with this energy and with the tradition. And I try to just help everybody as much as I can.
Okay. Well, thank
Mhm.
you.
Very exciting.
Listeners, as always, all the links, everything we talked about will be in the show notes. I have one final question, just because I'm curious. Why Baba's Kitchen? What's the significance of that for
Oh my
your
gosh.
center?
Jonathan and I were back in the United States after we had been sent back by Swami Kaleshwar to trailblaze and teach and heal. Wow. He was like, you got the energy. Don't hang around me. Go. Okay. So we did. And we had 2 friends who were kind enough to open their home. They got really hooked on these teachings. They were stunned. And they would have us teach in their home. And pretty soon we were like going over to dinner with them a lot. And we didn't have a laundry machine in our place because it was a tiny cottage in the redwoods of Santa Cruz Mountains. And so they were like, just bring your laundry. We'll have dinner, whatever. So we would do that. And we're there at dinner. And it's hilarious. These are 2 women in a couple, the older of whom was a PhD in physics. She taught at university level, a master carpenter, and a Tai Chi master.
Mm.
Very accomplished, unbelievably brilliant woman. And the other one was an electrical engineer. So these are pretty science-minded and yet very mystical women. So we're sitting at dinner and we had a little picture. They had by then just like a paper printout picture of Shirdi Baba on their credenza next to the dining table. And we were batting around. Swami Kaleshwar had told Jonathan and me, you have to start a church legally in US. We're like, are you kidding?
Yeah, that does not sound like fun.
No, who likes that? And everything that
Just
implies,
seems like a lot of
right?
red tape, right?
Yeah, we had to jump through hoops of the IRS. The whole thing.
Mhm.
So we were in the throes of that, and we were like, okay, so what are we going to name this thing? And we were talking, and came the Church of Baba's Kitchen, because in a kitchen, first off, Shirdi Baba was huge, and we are huge on feeding homeless people, feeding people in need, providing the most basic necessity of the earth element that everybody ingests and need to survive to people who are without means.
Yeah.
He loves it when we take care of those, the least of our brothers, right? So we were engaged in taking care of homeless people, and we had that thought materially to have a center or a place from which we could feed people. Okay. But a kitchen is also where you get cooked. right? It's where alchemy happens. You take a bunch of chocolate and eggs and butter, and it's just this mess, and then you subject it to heat, and it turns out to be brownies. Similarly, the human soul has to go through a little fire process. It has to go through some heat to get purified and turn into what it really is, instead of a hot mess of eggs and butter and chocolate.
Yep.
So we were like, well, that's a whole other layer of a meaning of a kitchen. This is a place where, and it's also a place where people come to be nourished on multiple levels. So anyway, we had all this thought in it, and it just sort of came out like that. How about the Church of Baba's Kitchen? And would you believe the picture of Baba fell off their credenza?
Okay.
And Jonathan and I were like, oh my gosh. And the older lady, the PhD in physics, was like, oh, it's a coincidence, blah, 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 blah. And we're like, I don't think that was a coincidence. She puts up the picture, she puts it back up, right? And we go on talking, and maybe 5-10 minutes later, again, the name Church of Baba's Kitchen came up. And again, I swear to you, that picture of Shirdi Baba jumped off that credenza. At which point, that older lady was like, okay, that's probably not a coincidence. And we were like, oh my gosh, that's the name. Swami Kaleshwar had told us, make it available to everybody. Buddhists, Christians, everybody can come. And we were like, universal, which is the actual meaning of the word Catholic. Everybody forgets that. Catholic means universal. It's for everybody. So we were like, oh, Universal Church of Baba's Kitchen. So we go back to India a couple months later, and we're sitting with Swami Kaleshwar, and he said, so are you guys going to name your church something? We said, yes, the Universal Church of Baba's Kitchen. And Swami Kaleshwar looked like he was about to barf. He was like, who came up with that? Where did that name come from, you know? And we said, well, from Baba, really? Who's his guru, right? And he looked inside for a minute. He kind of, and he said, okay. I think he checked with Baba, and Baba went, Baba's Kitchen, that's the deal.
Oh, okay.
So that's how it came around. It was the craziest thing.
Love it. I love it. I didn't know what the answer was going to be, where that was going to go. That's great. Like I said, I will have all of the links in the show notes so you can follow Alx, learn more, sign up for some of the events, dip your toe in, whatever your interest is. Thank you all for being here, and we'll see you next week. Thanks for listening and supporting the show. What did this bring up for you? What was your biggest aha moment? Find expanded show notes, transcripts, links, and resources at omwowpod.com. That's omwowpod.com. If this resonated with you, please help the show by subscribing, sharing with a friend, and leaving a review. Thank you. Have questions, show ideas, or respectful feedback for me? Jump into the show notes for this episode and let me know. Bye for now.